Right at the beginning, I would like to make one thing clear. Mars is not a villain. No principle or planet is a villain at all, because all principles can be experienced or lived on 3 different frequency levels: inhibited minus, compensated plus, or reconciled, the real form. More about this in my video The Laws of Development. Within the neurotic versions, plus and minus, one finds the villain frequency, but not in the real form. In this video, it's about Mars, completely after the motto, sex or war. Stay tuned. Can you think of anything to say about this? Take a closer look. Even closer. You see it? That's right. These war machines, cannons, bombs or bazookas look like dicks. Like a giant penis, right? The firing like an overpowering ejaculation. Like, yeah, okay, you got it, I know. The firing of these weapons is the neurotic detour of sex. Of repressed sex. Only if the sexual mass energy is held back. The subconscious looks for a detour, so that the mass principle is still lived, but perverted. Or as one says in fairy tales, enchanted. There we have our villain, evil villain. Instead of sex, there's war. It is as simply as that. The easier it is to end war. Yeah, pronounce it. Yeah, say it. With sex. It does not come from somewhere that the conservative societies, in terms of sexual conventions, are at war. If the real mass energy, so the pioneering spirit, the initiative, and just the sex are held back, for whatever reason, well, mostly because of outdated norms, then this principle is inhibited and one attracts, according to the law of balance and attraction, the opposite pole, the compensator, which is also inhibited in it but overplays its own inhibition by being violent, victim, and offender. Or the compensation takes place at the own body, with mass symptoms like infections like corona, autoimmune diseases or allergies. Or one overplays his inhibition and becomes himself the offender, the compensator. Then the enforcement comes by the fists or even by the weapons, and one attracts another inhibited one who get one on the lid. Within a two-pole resonance connection of minus with plus, a so-called dependency relation, a frequency is created which lives from its turnover of minus and plus minus, minus and plus,
and plus and minus,
minus and plus,
and plus and minus.
minus and plus. This means that an inhibited also quickly crosses over and compensates and becomes itself the offender. He falls then relatively fast again into the victim role and back to the offender, and so on. The longer this dependency relationship is maintained, it picks up speed. Victim and offender constantly change sides. Here we would be with soldiers in the war. In one moment still attacker and already in the next victim. These poles try to restore the unity in a huge detour. Is this the holy war? Holy in a detour. Because everything in our cosmos is aligned to become one. But the magic of this wonderful universe is that these poles are only projections and can only be brought to unity by bringing the enchanted Mars principle to life.
By killing the outdated beliefs rather than the other soldiers on the battlefield.
The beliefs that are holding back my enforcing of my own personality, and that includes my own sexuality. The poles lose their validity as soon as the principle is no longer repressed and can now be lived directly. However, if you want to raise your Mars to the reconciled frequency, the frequency of the butterfly, then check this out.
Developing a pioneering spirit, enforcement by fair means, making the first step, risking something, and having sex.
What coloring the whole thing has shows the horoscope, because it depends not only on the planet position, but especially on where the sign Aries is to be found, because there we find the cause of the Mars energy. The position of the planet Mars gives information about the effect. More on the subject of cause and effect in the horoscope in my associated video. And if you find my analogous psychological view on everything very exciting, please leave me a thumbs up and a subscription. That would be great. Here now an example from my horoscope on the subject of cause and effect of Mars Aries in the horoscope, thus in the personality system. Aries lies in house 9, thus Mars is the ruler of house 9. Here we find the cause of my Mars energy. In this case, the enforcement of my own worldview, my understanding, very much in the spirit of house 9 Jupiter. On the personal level, it is about the enforcement of the further development of the relationship, also sexually. If the energy can flow here, this has a positive effect on my 7th house because Mars is there. The effect is to be found here. So it affects my counterpart, my marriage and my partner, also on my conversation partner or student. So you can proceed with all houses. And very important that you always pay attention to the house's ruler system. I highly recommend my video about it. To learn everything about the 12 principles and more about Mars, I also recommend my online course. The link to it in the description. If you want more videos like that, please subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up. Another thing about sex. In the horoscope it is house 1, because it corresponds to the sign Aries and the planet Mars. So the nature of your sex naturally shows the coloring of your first house, your ascendant. Sex in the form of creation, reproduction and love is found in house 5. More about that later. Thank you for watching. Ciao.